slows down, fades away. Lifeless fingers, red decay. Darkness comes, slow-moving mist hides the land inside its fist. The riders come, sworn to obey, to chase the colors from the day. They ride on through with a thunderous sound, shakes the mountains and cracks the ground. Power, can you feel that power? It's not rolls in with the witching hour. Power, can you feel that power across the land? Can you feel that power? Cold steel hearts, eyes like flame, etched in dust, forgotten names, echoed vows through shattered time, bound by blood and ancient signs. Engines howl like beasts unchained, blackened skies ignite the rain. Every step, the shadows cower when the ground bows to rise in power. Power, can you feel that power? As night rolls in with the witching hour. Oh, power, can you feel that power across the land? Can you feel that power?
What's up, guys? So let me turn the light up a little bit. Yeah, here we are. Now we're in the house. Let me get my mic over here closer. I'm slacking. I'm slacking today, y'all. Uh, just slacking a little bit. I'll try to get this thing where it's not making noise. Bear with me a minute. I wasn't set up right. We have company over and kind of threw off my game. Plus, my wife brought some pizza in here and gave it to me a minute ago. So I see. Hold on. I've been chowing down. I'm about done now. I don't eat a lot. It's Domino's. A whole lot of bacon, a little bit of beef, and some jalapenos and some cheese and some onions, and that's good eating right there. All right, let's see what's going on tonight. I'm slacking. So El Fuego's in the house. What's up, El Fuego from the Pacific Northwest? Yeah, I did manage to hit 70,000, and we're pushing past that. Hopefully, this year my goal is to hit 100,000 subscribers this year. So hopefully we make it to that point. That would be awesome. Bobby B's at Disneyland. Of course he's at Disneyland, because why not? You live out there in the California, you know, you can go to Disneyland in the middle of the winter time and it's still warm. What's up? Cannot pronounce that name. Probably could. I don't know. It's crazy. By Pime, Beepim. I don't know. I need hooked on phonics. A lot of names that come across the chat I just cannot pronounce, but welcome to the show nonetheless. Even if I totally butchered your name, I'm sorry. Franco Quade's in the house. Joseph's in the house. Uh, yeah, the Berserker's in the house. Rick Ross is in the house. Hell yeah. Um, so, as per the normal operating system that I run on, which is, a broken ass brain old man operating system, what we're going to talk about tonight, before I start answering questions, because I let questions build up and then we go through and answer all of them. If you guys are entering comments right now, just a heads up. If you're asking questions, when you're asking questions throughout the live show, I will answer all the questions that come across the comments before the end of the show. If you're watching this after the show has gone live and it's now a recording, leave your questions and comments in the comment section below the video, and I will definitely get to all of them, every single one. So that's how this goes. Now, at the beginning of the show, we talk about a subject matter and let questions build up. And one of the things I want to talk about tonight is wind. If you guys saw the intro, if you didn't see the intro, there's a whole lot of clips of demos that I've done. Not all of them, and not even close to all of them, but a handful of clips that I've done throughout the time that I've been running this crazy thing. A lot of people ask me, okay, they want wind. That's what they want. They want wind. The guys that come to me want wind, and that's what's happening. And I'm definitely not the windiest build out there, but I am on the track of windy. I'm going down the right path, you see. And so that's a thing. I do understand how wind is generated in a windy demo build. Now, people that are looking for high sound pressure scores on the windshield are not the same people that are doing windy builds. However, if you get a system that is loud enough in both of those forms, it will be windy, no doubt about it. It'll tear your head off. But you can build a windy build that's not necessarily the loudest build. You can also build a loud build that's not necessarily the windiest build. And those two avenues start out together and then they diverge. And at some point, when the power and the build gets crazy enough, they kind of come back together again. Right now, I'm on the divergent part of that. And I'm focused more on wind and demo experience. There's a lot of questions you have to ask yourself if you're wanting to build a demo build. One of those questions is, what frequency range do I want to play in? Wind is generated best at low frequencies. And a lot of builds that are super, super windy that you see them on doing demos, and they're just absolutely windy as hell. They're not really that loud, at least not during that demo. They're playing like 15 hertz, 18 hertz, 20, 22, frequencies like that, which won't come across as being loud in the vehicle. So if you're getting that demo, you may not be experiencing a whole lot of loud to your ear bass, but you will be experiencing a tremendous amount of wind. And that's all because you have to move air. Okay. So the longer that frequency wave is, the more your cone's moving, which the more wind you're generating. But also those lower frequencies don't register as being incredibly loud. Now, my build, I have a pretty wide spectrum. I can play everywhere from about 20 hertz up to about 55 hertz, quite loud. Like I only drop a couple of dB going from like 50 down to, 30s, low 30s, high 20s. And then I'll drop another couple of dB from that. That's my peak, is around 36. And then I'll drop a couple of dB going down into the 20 hertz range. So I can play a really wide spectrum at pretty good power output. So how do you get wind to happen? Well, there's a bunch of different little parts to that. One of them is, like I said, cone area. Moving that cone a lot and moving a large cone or a large amount of accumulated cone area is going to generate more movement in the air. The second part of that would be having the port velocity high. So you don't want your port velocity too high or it starts making noise, like blowing wind over the top of a bottle. Boom, 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 right? Same concept, the port. So you want a port to be windy. You want it to be small enough and tight enough to where you get good wind velocity, good air velocity, but you don't want it so small that it creates noise. And that's a magic trick to get that. So you kind of start out with what you think is right, but err on the side of a little bit too big, and then you layer inside the port until you shrink it up just right. That's kind of how you sneak up on that. Or you have a really good box designer give you a design to start with and hope that that works. Now, it's easy to make a port a little bit smaller if it's a single, straight port. It's easy to shrink it, but it's really difficult to make it bigger. So that's why I said always err on the side of slightly bigger and then sneak up on the shrinking part. Um, and you want good laminar airflow through your port. And do those little rounded edges and curves and corners and all that matter? Yes, 100% they matter. Does that fluted area outside your port that curves around and lets that? Yes, it matters. It all matters very much. You can get bass without any of that. And people go, oh, well, look, mine don't have any of that, but it's still loud. But if they added those curves and those corners to allow that airflow to move naturally, it would be even louder and it would sound better than what they have. There is absolutely a reason why whenever you look at inside of a home theater speaker, something that's a reputable brand, a reputable piece of equipment, you see the ports in there, they always have curves on both ends. They're not doing that because you can't even see them. You have to dig in there and look to find that. They're not doing it for pretty. They're not doing it to sell it. They're doing it because this is how you make good bass. All right. And there's a reason why they all use that. And they almost never use slot ports. They almost always use round fluted end ports. That's the most efficient. Of course, the problem with a round port is it's not the most efficient way to use your baffle area. The next part, of course, is shrinking the area that you're trying to generate wind in. So the smaller space that you have that you're trying to make windy, the easier it is to make it windy. That's where walls come in. It's just always going to be easier to make a windy wall than it is to make a windy box inside of a cab. And these are all different little elements that come into play. Then you go to getting into the demo territory. When it comes to demos, the power is important. So having enough power to drive that system is the first step. But beyond that, you got to have enough electrical to support that power. And that electrical has to be strong enough to continually support the amount of power that you're consuming over the course of a day. So like some guys will have really big battery banks, and they can do strong demos, but they run out of juice. They don't have enough charging capacity to be able to maintain that. So while you can have, 3,000 amp hours of CMAX, for example, and that can probably demo without even having the vehicle running for several hours, you've also got to pay the piper. At some point, you're going to have to shut down and let something charge and charge and charge and charge. It may take hours to charge those batteries back up. So those demo builds work, but there's a problem. As you can see in that math, you get a set amount of time that you can run it, and you got to have basically that much time just to put the power back in there. So you have to build a build that can sustain itself throughout a whole day. And that's what I do. When I demo at a show, I'm demoing from the time I get there till a lot of times well after the competitions are ending and people are leaving. There's still people trying to get demos. We're still out there doing it, and I can do that. Then there's heat, because you're going to be continually building up heat. Your speakers have to be able to uh, get rid of that heat. And also, your amplifiers have to be able to get rid of the heat that they create. You need something that reaches a certain point and then sustains itself. So it can keep charging up to that level. It can keep getting rid of that heat. It can keep doing everything, and everything can keep going indefinitely. That's where you're shooting for. So building in good charging for your batteries that are supporting your amplifier, building in a way to get rid of heat or using equipment that doesn't generate a lot of heat. All those things come into the design. So you have to think about everything. You're not shooting a rocket into outer space. You're burning the rocket for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it's doing a quick thing on a sensor, doing a run, an SPL run. You don't have to worry about most of this stuff. You can just throw some bulk power at it. Boom, shit gets real hot, puts up a high score, then it gets to sit out there and cool off for half an hour or an hour before it has to do it again. Building a demo vehicle is a completely different mindset. It requires a completely different way of thinking about everything. So, if you guys have any questions about that, I will do my best to answer them. I am not the demo guru. I am not the wind guru. I'm not the loud guy guru, but I do understand a lot of it, and I can help point you in the right direction to get you started. Let's go back here and see what's going on in the questions, because I know you guys have a lot of them. And we're going to talk about Truck Thunder Lithium too. So, Brandon put out an announcement the other day, and I don't know where it is. I'll have to look it up. I posted it in the community section of my YouTube channel, so you guys can check that out there. You can go to the community section on the YouTube channel and read what he posted. But I will consolidate it a little bit. So he's working on stuff. He's waiting on stuff. He's doing things as fast as he can. He does give some dates in that community post, so you can look at that. Things are going to improve. He's not going to take any more orders ahead of time. He's not going to take any more pre-orders, because that turned into a fiasco. Basically, he was getting hit with so many orders that he just kept falling further behind. But he is going to fulfill every single one of those orders, and he's offered to refund anybody any money that they want refunded. If they want it right now, he can do that. But he is going to fill every single order, and I think it's like within the next couple of weeks. So if you've been waiting patiently, hang tight. You can check out exactly what he said in the community post. And I just lost my freaking face. He just said, "Screw you guys, I'm going home." But anyway, I'll show you guys. This is a project in the works. He is not done yet. He's been hanging on the wall back there, and he's not done yet. So we're going to move on past that. But when he is done, you guys will see how that works out. It's pretty fun. I think I'm going to have a little bit of. I think I'm going to have some video on how I made him whenever I get done. I've been shooting video. I don't know how it's going to work out. So let's go in here and look at the thing majigger. See what's going on. Joseph said, "Hello from the middle of Kentucky. Been a long week. Hope everyone is doing good. Staying warm. Yeah, I'm complaining about winter. I hate winter." Bobby B, the Goofy of Disneyland. El Fuego. Let's see here. Chicken nuggets. No, she gets she gets those chicken. They're not nuggets, but yeah, they're like chicken bites or something. She loves those things, and so that's how she talks to me. And she gets like, "Hey, you want pizza?" That means she wants chicken. What's up, Berserker? Let's see here. Rick Ross said, "How's everyone doing tonight?" Carlos says, "Hello, I'm running a Taramp Smart 3K wired at 1 ohm to a Sundown 12V2, X12V2. I recently upgraded the battery to an XSD 4800. That sounds like an AGM. And a 250 alt. I still get low voltage. It's what too bad. Yeah, AGM is the problem that can only do what AGM can do. And no matter what name you put on the battery, it can be excess power. It could be, Trump Plaza. It could be whatever you want to put. But an AGM is an AGM. It has a limited amount of current it can take in and a limited amount of current it can put out over time. It's mainly the charging current that's the problem. They can obviously put out 1,000 amps, 1,200 amps for a short burst. That's for starting a vehicle. The thing is not designed to run a car audio system. It just isn't. It's designed to start a car and then slowly run and buffer for the alternator. The system is designed to work as a one-piece thing. You're asking it to do something it simply cannot do. Now, if you want an AGM, you say you're running a 3K. So if you're wanting to power all of that with AGM batteries, you're going to need. So if we look at 300 amps and then we cut that in half to 150 amps, and then we know the AGM batteries can take in about 30 to 50 amps each, you're still looking at 3 AGM batteries, and that's going to be on the iffy side. 4 would be solid enough to run the system. So you need about 400 pounds of 400 pounds of Group 31 AGMs, or you need one good lithium bank to handle that. This is why everyone's running lithium. It's because lithium can take multiple C's, so 10C, 20C. And what a C is, if you look at the amp hours of your AGM battery, so it's 100 amp hours, which is kind of about that. It's probably going to be real close. That means that's the C rating for that battery, 100 amp hours. Now, AGM can only take in about 0.5 to 0.3 to 0.5 C, so that's 30 to 50 amps at one time. So no matter how much alternator you have pushing, offering up power, it don't push it, but it offers it. It's like, hey, I got this. The AGM's going, I'm taking it as fast as I can because it's working. It's trying to pull a whole bunch of crap through a small hole. And it can only pull it in so fast. No matter how much there is available, it can only pull it in so fast. That's where AGMs fall apart. That's why people run huge amounts of AGM batteries whenever they run them, because they have to have that so they can pull the power through the battery from the alternator. It's a terribly inefficient way to run a car audio system. Lithium, on the other hand, can run 10C, 15C, or 20C. So 100 amp hours of lithium might be able to take in 2,000 amps of power at one time, at least for a little while. And then, 800, 900 amps continuously. That's a big, huge difference in the ability to pull the power in and put it out. Its throughput is far, far faster and far more efficient than an AGM. So the answer to your question is you need a lithium bank. You can hit up Truck Thunder Lithium whenever they come back online. That's the ones I recommend for everybody right now. It's going to be a couple of weeks before you can order anything, but if you stay watching their site, you can pick them up. You could also hit up Big Jeff and get one of the Big Jeff batteries. That's about the right size for what you're running at 3,000 watts. One of the Big Jeff lithium batteries. Use discount code CAE. Save a little money on top of the purchase. And for Truck Thunder Lithium, discount code CAE10. Truck Thunder Lithium is the only one that has a different discount code. Everybody else uses CAE. But yeah, either one of those two, like the 5K from Truck Thunder Lithium, which is almost exactly two. Actually, it is 2 of the Big Jeff batteries, but it's less than the price that you'd pay for 2 Big Jeff batteries. So it's like 600 versus 500, right? 500 for the Truck Thunder Lithium, 600 for 2 Big Jeffs. But you only really need one of the Big Jeff batteries to support your system. It's not going to take anything more than that. It's just going to support what you've got, but it will fix you up. Let's see here. T. Corley said, I don't know why tonight it didn't pop up on my phone that I was live. It didn't pop up on my phone either. Actually, it probably did. I don't know, man. I can't even find myself. White Rambo said, "What's up, everybody?" Yes, sixth order. A sixth order is always going to be windier than a fourth or a flat wall. Well, yeah, but it's not because of the orders. Really, it's because of the way a series sixth order is put together. So in a series sixth order, you have a port right behind your head, and then you've got your subs in there somewhere, and then you've got a port back at the very back. So you have two ports that are tunneling. One port that's blowing into that chamber where the subs are, and then that's all getting channeled into a port that comes out right behind your head. And that's definitely about the windiest thing that you can do, which is what I plan to do in the Tahoe. Having said that, you can get pretty damn windy with a flat wall if you do it right. But you got to think about how the wind is moving, how the air is moving in the vehicle. Is it hitting something that's causing it to have turbulence and like turn back, or has it got a way to flow? Has it got a nice flow path to move? Because just like air on the outside of a vehicle, you got to have the right shaped body to move through the wind without causing turbulence. Same thing. If you want air to move through the vehicle, you've got to have a smooth path for it to move through. And that's all those things are relevant. So you got to look at your vehicle and go, how is the air moving and what's it trying to get past? How can I make that go away? That's why you see guys with seats that have holes in them, the racing seats, to allow air to move through the seats and sound move through the seats. Hard surfaces are better for pressure because they don't get squished, they reflect. So they carry sound better. Hard surfaces that are nice and smooth and open and allow that air and that wind and that air and the sound pressure to get through. Those are all things you got to think about. T. Corley said, I grew up on walls, huge rectangular ports on the driver's side mostly. Yep. Driver's side port specifically is for the SPL meter. You meter on the passenger side, so you want your port to be as far away from that meter as you can get it to allow the sound wave that's coming out of that port time to mature as much as it can before it hits that meter. And that's going to give you the best scores. But that's what that's for. It's just for that placement on the driver's side is strictly for the SPL meter. It doesn't have anything to do with the wind in the vehicle. For wind, you specifically want to have, you want to have the port on the passenger side, I guess, to get the passenger the maximum amount of wind flow. But for me, I like to have it in the center. And if I have my druthers, that's an old word. If I have my druthers, I'd rather have a horizontal port right behind my head, going all the way across. But that didn't really work with what I was building and the way I was building it. So I had to go with a vertical port. Let's see here. Rinko, just watched your video window repair, and it worked like butter. Hell yeah, man. And that's something that you run into with a base vehicle is you break shit. Like shit breaks. Base breaks everything. It doesn't care. And on those Silverado, Tahoe, Suburban, Escalade, Yukon vehicles, one of the things that happens is the windows will have issues occasionally. And I show in the video how to reset that computer so that it recognizes that it's a window again and it'll actually work. That's what it's talking about. But if you get to the point where your window doesn't want to roll down or up, it just gets stuck. One of the windows, maybe the other ones work, but the one just stops. You just turn the key on to where there's power to the vehicle and unplug hold the window up or down button on the controller. And while you're holding it in the up or down position, unplug the power plug to the controller and plug it back in, and the window would just go up or down. It fixes it. Probably would work for, might even work for the latches in the back and stuff if they fail. So keep that in mind, that same basic concept. Um, and no problem, brother. I appreciate you for stopping by. The creepy ninja eyes in the background. I already explained that. That's an up and coming thing, but I was waiting on somebody to mention it. It would be a fuego. Um, Roy Worthington, what's up, man? Um, 2011 Chevy Traverse battery inside car. Someone tell me how to run a big three when the battery's inside and the alternator's outside by a passenger side wheel. Also, what kind of high amp alternator? I've been talking to a couple of companies. I'm trying to get some people to work with me on alternators. Um, but there's a lot of different options on alternators, and that could be a whole entire show on alternators. I mean, literally. What I'll tell you is, for the most part, what you're wanting to find is an alternator that makes at least a couple hundred amps, maybe 200, 250 at idle. Right? You want you want it to make that power at idle. Uh, Whatever its top number is, it's not really that relevant. You want it to make 150 to 200 amps while it's just sitting there idling. That's what you're looking for. And there's a bunch of them out there. I mean, a bunch. And but yeah, I'm working on getting a couple of guys to work with me. So I'll get back to you on that. As far as the runs, I run underneath and then come up inside. But a lot of people run through the firewall. I don't need wires running under my feet, my carpet. I just run them under the vehicle and pop them up where I want them to go. And you use grommets to insulate the wire when it comes up through the floor, so it doesn't have a chance of getting damaged. And you're juicy. Uh, I do have a video that I just put up here the other day showing this operation in practice. So thank you for stopping in, Roy. Let's see here. I need some opinions on Slaps Oblivion versus Soundcube. I haven't compared them directly to Soundcube, but I have compared them directly to a whole bunch of Sundown subs. They're gonna. I can tell you right now, they're gonna be right together, or they're going to beat the Soundcube sub. I can almost guarantee you if the price, and they're going to whatever you compare them against. You compare them against stuff that's twice as expensive, and they're still going to keep up with it. That's just the gist of it. I mean, I could go through and pull it up and do a whole thing on it, but I you got to pay a whole lot more money to beat the Oblivions. You really do. I'm doing a lot of crazy stuff with them, and you're going to have to pay a lot more money to beat Slaps Oblivion subs. But I will look into that. Another thing, Carr and your team come down, I believe, to Arch Street, Mayhem, October, Wake the Dead. Yeah, the one in Arkansas. I I wanted to go last year, but I just don't travel well. So it's difficult for me to do that. So I try to, but I may. I don't know. We'll see. Because I got a lot of stuff. I'll tell you about the things going on in my life at some point during the live show tonight. So I got things happening. Uh, I think, I think. But again, look in the community post on my channel and read that. What he talks about, he tells you the dates and all that stuff. Tara Ray, Boom Tara, yeah, yeah. He builds some nasty windy stuff. Good channel, man. Excellent channel. I've seen the post by Trunked on Lithium. Sounds like an awesome guy. And yeah, he is. He is. He's a cool guy. He really is. He's putting in the work. No 123 said you got me inspired to do 415 flat wall C pillar in my car. I just got a Big Boss 8K to test. The Big Boss 8K for test, waiting on an IBB. I don't know what that is. 17,000 watt amplifier, I guess. That's a lot of power on a single amplifier. It's a lot of power. See, the thing about big, huge amplifiers that I don't like is the power supply section gets really overworked, and there's nowhere for that heat to go. Using smaller amps stacked will actually give you more wire inputs for that power, so you have more ways for that heat to dissipate itself on the wires coming into the amplifier. The big power wires and ground wires, they act like a heat sink and let the heat out of the amplifier. Whenever you have one ginormous amplifier, now you're relying on just the power wires going in to carry that out. It's like you're asking something to do more work. Uh, it's like the failure point. You can put a 10,000 horsepower engine in a car, but is the transmission going to hold it? That's the question. And at some point, you need to put multiple transmissions to carry that power. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. But having said that, I've seen some really big, nasty, huge amplifiers making crazy power and they do it fine. So, I mean, what do I know, right? But yeah, there is an advantage is you don't have to worry about syncing them up. You can just run one amp, um, so you have more control and it's easier to set it up. Um, anyway, watch your heat. That's what I would say. Make sure you use doublers when you can. Double those wires up so you have more cooling path for that power supply area. I think that's a good call. Um, Sodium, T. Corley says. I don't have. I shouldn't. I should be doing more. So I should be keeping up more with sodium research. But it is. It probably will be the future, but it's not here quite yet. There's people running sodium, but they're having to give up different things to run it. It's not quite there just yet. Sodium, from what I understand, big quotes here, is going to be a little heavier per power, a little bit bulkier per amount of power it can handle. There's other limitations like charging limitations and things and output. It's still going to be a step up from AGM, even right now, but it's not quite with lithium yet. So I'm going to have to do some more research into sodium before I can speak intelligently about it. Right now, I'm just maybe a fraction of an inch ahead of most of you guys, but not really. Like Corley may know more about it than I do. So still learning. He said in Jerry Ain't Loud's Jeep, Jangalang is awesome. Uh, he's a good dude, and his wife's Blazer was awesome too. Yeah, they're selling the Blazer, from what I understand, uh, via his last video that I saw. They're going to sell the Death Note, I believe is what it was called, the Blazer. So if you guys are looking, you might want to keep an eye out if you want that thing. It will be available at some point, according to Jerry. He's going to get back in the swing of things here very soon, though. Um, yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. It's still going to be slightly windy if I build a sixth order. Is it still going to be slightly windy if I build a sixth order for my truck with two SCAR VXFs 12s currently in a 4-cube box, 31 hertz, two American Base Elites? Sixth order? I mean, like I said, if you're trapping the wind where you want the wind, if you're restricting the air movement to the space you want the air to move in, then you're essentially creating a wall. That's what you have to do. If you leave space for that air to move back in places where you don't really care about wind, then you're going to lose the wind unless you generate a ginormous shit ton of it. There's always that, but yeah, you have to trap it. You have to move it into the area where you want it. Or if you leave somewhere for it to go, it's just going to go there. And you're going to lose all that pressure. You'll also lose sound pressure as well as wind. But yeah, wind requires planning, very specific planning. Trunk Thunder Banger, lithium. It's not my Trunk Thunder Banger Lithium, mind you. I am not a member of the staff, or do I own Trunk Thunder Lithium. I appreciate it, but I do work with Brandon, of course, who does own Trunk Thunder Lithium. Um, 10 battery, honestly, an amazing job on a stock 110 amp bought with the big three and all zero gauge stock batteries. And I'm running 6,000 watts, good voltage still. Yeah. Yeah. Trunk Thunder Lithium is what I recommend for everybody. As long as you can get one, because right now, like I said, he's having a hard time keeping stuff in stock and he's building as fast as he can. But if you can get one, you're going to get gold for a battery. They do a great job. Thank you, Bubba. Joe Sosa said, had to wild the inside door crash bar back in my Kia yesterday. Okay. Had to weld the inside door crash bar. Okay. I'm working on it, man. It took me a second to get it, but yeah, dude. Yeah, weld, not wild. I see it. I love it. Yeah. Hey, bass brake shit. Bubba said, I have 2 American Bass Elite 12s on a Smart 5K. I'm saving money for another VFX 12. How big will the difference be from those 2 subs? American Bass Elite. Saving money for another VFX. I don't know. It's not okay. So you have to look at the order of operations. You need cone area to make bass. You need excursion to make bass. Okay, those 2 things. The more cone area, the more excursion you have, the more bass you get. Then you need a box that can allow that cone area and that excursion to work in your vehicle. Then you need enough power to allow that driver to fully do its trick without clipping, staying clean. Then you need enough electrical to support that power. And all the other stuff that you're asking about is not really relevant. What's relevant is, can the sub handle the amount of power it's going to take to do the job? That's where you come to that. So, a 500 watt sub with 500 watts on it is going to give you a set amount of movement, but it can only move so much air so quickly because it is limited on the amount of power that a whole subwoofer has, the motor force to move that air. Subwoofers with a higher motor force and enough power and enough electrical in the right box are going to move more air. Okay. Subwoofers with all that stuff and larger cone area are going to move even more air. But it isn't about whether this sub is better than this sub. It's about, does this subwoofer do the job I'm asking of it to do? And am I giving it all the tools it needs to do that job? That's the question you have to ask. The more power you can put on a subwoofer, the more air you're going to move. But the subwoofer has to be able to handle the amount of power you're putting on it, or it's going to blow, or it's not going to be able to do its job anyway. And you got to have enough electrical to support that, and you have to have the right enclosure so the subwoofer is properly supported, but also has the room to move and do the right thing. It's all about matching all this shit up. Okay? It's matching everything up. And you have to do that. It's an ecosystem. It's not a single component. Just because you have a 10,000 watt power supply in your computer doesn't make your computer is going to be amazing. Okay, you still have to have a good graphics card. You still have to have a motherboard with a high throughput on the Northbridge. You still have to have a fast freaking drive that can send the information in quickly. You still have to have a good quality monitor that can. You have to have all the pieces. It doesn't, just one thing doesn't fix the problem. And they all have to work together to do it. That's what I'm trying to teach you guys. That's my objective on this entire channel, is to teach you guys how to put together a system. That word is used a lot, but not understood at all. A system, an entire system to do a specific job. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't compared the numbers, but I'm just trying to stop looking at brands and start looking at equipment. Pay attention to the ingredients, the spec sheet. What does it do? I don't care whose name is on it. What does it do? Who is your daddy and what does he do? It's not a tumor. Okay. Itty bitty boom. Yeah, I've been hearing a little bit about that amp. I haven't heard anything bad about it, so there's that. Uh, 40 amp hour LiPo 4. Well, look at it. I mean, what's the C rating? Do you know what the C rating is on it? If you don't know what the C rating is on it, you really don't know what you got. That's what I'm trying to point out. So it's 40 amp hours. If it has a 10C, it can take in 400 amps. If it has a 20C, it can take in 800 amps. That's two completely different scenarios. And you can only put out what you can take in, at least continuously. All right. So if it's a 10C, that's 400 amps. That means you can power a 4,000 watt system. If it's a 20C, that's 800 amps. That means you can power an 8,000 watt system. All from the same battery that says LiPo 4 and says 40 amp hours. The C rating is important. That's what I'm trying to get across. How good is the balancer? What kind of balancer does it have? Is it a Heltec? Something, an imitation Heltec? How well is it handling? How well is the thing bust on the inside? Does it have good bars on it? Can it conduct high amount of current with a little bit of voltage drop and no heat? All these things are relevant. Then when you get into the last parts of it, how well is the case constructed? Can it take abuse? Would you want to get hit by a car and hit in that battery and worry about that battery causing problems? Or would it be safe? These are all questions you have to ask about it, and it's not just one specific thing. So I'm trying to teach you guys how to understand what you're trying to buy, how to shop, not where to shop, how to shop. Auntie Corley, I guess, to get some wire ferrules. Yes, you do. Ferrules help tremendously, guys. Here's the problem with that, though. Some amplifiers, the power connector holes are not big enough to support the ferrule that's the right size for the wire. This shit gets complicated, and you're going to have to get creative. Okay, you're going to get creative. If you run into that, you may have to take something and smush the ferrule around the wire and smush it up enough to where it can fit in the hole. But you got to figure out something that can do that. Here's a tip. Some wire crimpers can do that. I'm just going to leave that on the table. Okay. Some of the lug crimpers can do that. You got to study yourself and figure it out, man. But yeah, ferrules are a big deal. Keeps the wires bunched up together. The more you can compact them together when you're putting them in an amplifier, the better grip it has on those and the better contact it has on that, which means you're going to get more power, less heat in a spot that you really do not want heat. You don't want heat buildup right in that connection area. That's where that power supply is. You do not want heat buildup there. And that's why ferrules are really awesome for that. Corey says, I don't have my amp rack built, so it's all temporary. It's always temporary, Corey. It's always temporary. Always. The only time when it goes from being temporary, wait, you put it in, you say, this is the temporary thing I'm going to do. And that's going to stay that way until you have to change it because you have no choice. That's how long that temporary solution is going to last. It never goes away. The temporary becomes permanent until you have to change it. Yes. Seal off the wind, trap the wind in the area where you want your wind to be. However you do that, that's the trick. Fuego says those Blazers or classic base vehicles. Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a square vehicle is easier to put square things inside of. That said, vehicles that have more of a rounded shell tend to handle pressure better. That's why the CRV and the Honda CRV is so popular because of the shape. You can if you take a flat, here's a sanding disc. You take a flat surface like this, right, and it's easy to flop around. But once you've made it a curved surface, it has a lot more rigidity to it and it tends to deflect. Same thing on the inside and outside. Curved surfaces are going to be better for holding pressure and not flexing as much. But all these problems can be overcome with different methods, right? It's just what are you starting out with? That's kind of what I'm looking at. Back in 2006, we had a chance to buy an Astro van with a full wall 615 3/4 ton suspension. Nice. 2,500. Yep, that right there is it, man. That'd be a good setup. Joe Daddy, yeah, I guess he's probably hiding somewhere in the grass. Travis, what's up, man? Amazon Basic Sound Deadener from a daily driver. I use it. I use it a lot. I recommend it a lot. I use it in other builds that I help on. I recommend it to people. Amazon Basic Sound Deadener is a great buy. It's a great buy. Let's see here. Let me see if I can get that to pop up. Um, is that Cornut says, yep, exactly. He agrees with me. It's a good deal. What's up, Franco Quaid? I still cannot stop. Every time I see your name, I think about the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Quaid. He's Quaid. What's it called? You know what I'm called. They're going to Mars. I always think of that movie every time I see your name. Um, it's not a tumor. Can't think of the name of the movie anyway. Somebody will put it in chat, inevitably. Probably 15 people. Thoughts on spray deadener and actual sheets of mill? Spray deadener, it can work. I mean, all you're doing is adding mass to a panel. I mean, look, guys, deadener is not magic. Making something, making a panel not vibrate at frequencies you don't want it to vibrate at is as simple as gluing something to it. You can glue a piece of lead onto it and get a similar effect. You can attach anything to it. If you look in cars, they use chunks of plastic that are glued to the panels for that reason. You don't want the panel to resonate at the frequencies that it's going to resonate at. So whatever, you want to get the resonant frequency low enough that it's lower than the note you're going to try to make it resonate at. And however you do that works. So spray deadener will absolutely work. Bed liner would work. 1,000 coats of paint would work. Covering it with putting a glue and a quilt to it would work. I mean, it doesn't matter how you do it. There's a lot of companies out there that make an easy way to do this, but you could do it in any way you want. You don't have to go and buy their stuff. You can use roofing materials. There's a lot of stuff. You can use that kind of stuff. And people say, well, no, it smells like tar. No, you just spent way more money on your stuff. And so you want a reason to talk shit about somebody else. That's what it is. It all smells like tar because it all basically is. All right. But nobody gives a shit. I know you went and spent $1,000 on, 10 sheets of this extremely awesome stuff. Now you're pissed off because somebody else got a similar product for $20 and you feel like you have to justify your purchase. I get it, but I don't give a shit. I don't care. For the right thing, yes, spray stuff works really good. You could also use spray bed liner and do the same thing. But yeah, it works. I know that it works. Is it worth the money? I don't know. It depends on how much you're paying for it and the situation. Can you get in there and do it cheaper in a different way? Then I would do that. In a situation where spraying it makes the most sense, then use the spray. But consider all you got to do is put mass on something. I mean, you're trying to take something that wants to jingle. You're trying to take something that wants to jingle and make it not jingle. That's all. That's all you need to do is stop the jingle. And my hand didn't cost anything, but it stopped all the jingle. It's the same exact principle. Um, let's see. El Fuego says, always disappointing when it won't fit in the hole. Frustrating that, yeah. Especially whenever you're young and strong and you know you can make it fit in the hole. You know it should go in the hole, but it just won't go in. That's a tough situation to deal with right there. Oh, you're talking about the spray stuff? Yeah, it could work. A lot of people are using that 6 pound foam indoors, but you got to take the doors apart, take them off the vehicle, lay them down like this so that they're flat. And then you carefully pour that foam in and make sure it don't get involved in any of the mechanical bits of the window mechanism or anything. But you can layer it in and pour it in to make a nice hard shell on that outer part, outer skin of the door. Big pain in the ass taking your doors off your vehicle to work on them. But the results are pretty nasty from what I'm seeing. So something to think about. And always consider, no matter what you're putting in your door, always consider the mechanism that rolls the window up and down and all that stuff that has to operate inside there. Always think 1,000 times before you do it because you don't want to screw that up. Yes, absolutely is. There's a place that has cheapish wire crimper. Uh-huh. Oh, the hammer crimper. Hammer crimper actually is a reasonably good crimper. I actually like a hammer crimper as long as you got somewhere to use it. It isn't always practical. Like trying to crimp up under your hood, that's a difficult place to use a hammer crimper. But I don't have a problem with a hammer crimper as long as you're using it in the right spot. I've got some really cool crimpers. Aside from like the big, $3,000 hydraulic bench crimpers that you see these big guys use, I don't have that. But I have quite the collection of really good crimpers. I don't have a hammer crimper, but I do have a crimper that puts the same style of crimp on. It's just handle powered instead of hammer powered. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that. There's a place I know has a cheapish wire crimper. I think you put the wire, I use a hammer to hit it. That's not really ideal for those. That's not the kind of crimper that you need to do the ferrules. You need something that has like halves that come together like this in some kind of way. But it'll crimp the hell out of a lug. Yes, hammer crimp. Hammer time. T. Corley. My uncle's transmission needs replaced. Part long enough. That sounds like a deal right there. Yeah, Amazon deadener's good. Good stuff. Total Recall. Thank you, Base Villa. I could totally not recall that. So has anybody figured out whether or not he was dreaming or whether he was in real life when he did that? Is the whole movie a recall or is it actually happening? See, I don't know if anybody's ever come up with the actual master plan on that yet. Has anyone tried out the expensive Resonix? It's going to work about like everything else does. So what Deadener does, I've already discussed the bulk of it, which is it stops the thing from frequency that you don't want. The way it does that is the other thing. That's where these high-end stuff is going to make a difference. So what they're doing is taking that energy that you're putting into that panel and turning it into heat. Now, this is why sometimes when you deaden a car, you actually lower the SPL. Okay. This is all scientific, and I'm going to do my best to dumb it down which is where I normally think of things, and I'm going to keep it there for you guys. But whenever you're sending that sonic energy, that sound pressure, that pressure wave into that material and it's wanting to vibrate, you're stopping it. Now, the way you're stopping it is by turning that energy into heat. So that sound deadener will actually get warm. Okay. And that causes the panel to not flex anymore, but it also turns that energy that you were getting springy over here, the springy energy, turns it into heat and holds the panel still. That heat that's in there is the power that you lost by doing that. It's power that you gave up, because sometimes those panels will vibrate at a frequency that helps your system. Yeah. And so that's why sound deadening doesn't always make your shit louder. Sometimes it makes it quieter, but it also makes it sound way better. So you're giving up that sound. It was sound. You were turning it into sound by vibrating the panel, right? And you're turning it, instead of turning it into sound, you're turning it into heat. And sometimes that sound would be the opposite of the sound you're trying to create. So sometimes sound deadener makes it louder, because if it's vibrating in a way that's the opposite of what's happening on the inside, then it's a non-sympathetic vibration. You're actually losing pressure. But if it happens to get vibrating like a passive radiator where it's working together with the pressure on the inside, now it's a sympathetic vibration. And that's going to generate more pressure because it's working like a passive radiator on the outside of your car, on the inside and outside. So sometimes the panel will give you more bass, and sometimes it'll take bass away. But the deadener will always stop both and turn them both into heat. Let's see here. And that Resonix will have a different way to do the same. The chemistry of the material can help generate heat better or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a freaking physics professor, but yeah. Let's see here, loud and clear. You got to learn what you got to do. Foam door trick. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but it works really well. What's El Fuego talking about? I think that would sound amazing. The trunk reminds me of the old Jeeps and Escort body. Yep, I think so too, man. Franco Quaid. CAE be using the hammer crisper on the kitchen counter. Hell yeah, man. We don't even have one of those. You're talking about the meat tenderizer? We don't even have a meat tenderizer. I could totally use my one of my wire cutters as a meat tenderizer, which would be cool. Car audio themed steak, man. I'm not taking my doors off to pour. That's a reasonable way of looking at it, man. I'll go with that. I'm down with that. I call that a good plan. Just be careful with your mechanisms. Don't jack anything up while you're in there. But yeah, sounds good. $12 crimper. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for wire crimping, a hammer crimper, as long as you got a bench to work on, a good solid bench, because you got to be able to hit it, or the floor, the concrete floor. As long as you can work there, a hammer crimper does a bang up job. The problem comes in whenever you're trying to crimp a wire underneath the car or in the trunk or under the hood. That's where the hammer crimper becomes more of a problem. Yeah, absolutely, man. That's what I was talking about. It can give, and it can take away. And honestly, you really don't know which one's going to happen. You have to just go with it. But one thing it will do is make it sound better completely. It's going to make it sound a lot cleaner and a lot tighter. I haven't got deep into thermodynamics, man. Like heat exchangers and all that stuff. But it's a real thing. Understanding there's a I have a philosophy. Well, not really a philosophy. It's more like this is just how my brain works. I figure out one thing, and then I'll figure out this thing, and then I'll figure out this thing, get this thing, and I'll have these different pieces of information that I've figured out. And one day, magic happens, and two of them connect together. And whenever I realize that, oh my God, this and this connected, everything makes sense now. And those are magical moments when that happens, when I connect two things together. And thermodynamics is absolutely tied into car audio, as well as hydrodynamics. Um, if you understand any of those things, you can quickly make the jump into car audio, parts of it anyway, because they share so many things in common. And the idea you should all have is to create a better general understanding of all of this stuff so that whenever you see a new thing come up, you can figure out where it fits in real quick and how it can help and hurt and what advantages and disadvantages it's going to bring to the party. But you have to have a general understanding of a whole lot of different things for that to happen. And I don't want anybody walking away going, I need to go buy slaps because it's slaps. I want people to walk away going, hey man, slaps makes the right sub to do this job at a very inexpensive price. That's what I need to get. That's the different mentality, right? And I want everyone to think along the lines of how to do it right, not just how to go buy a certain brand, because a brand can jack you, can totally fool you. Be loyal to your thoughts, not loyal to a brand. I want to test deadening panels before doing everything. I do want to do the doors for sure, but roof, etc. I want to see the numbers. Problem is when you start doing stuff, it's gonna be irreversible, man. I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna lose a little bit here and there. You may gain a little bit here and there. You may lose a dB overall. You may gain a dB overall, but you're gonna love the sound much, much more if you have a good sound treated vehicle. And to me, that's more important than that meter score ultimately. Trucker Jerry says running man. No, wrong movie. I saw that up there. Close. It was Total Recall. Yo, Gillian, Sub Zero. Now, just plain zero. Spectrum Second Skin has some liquid deadener. Yep, yeah, they do. Yep, ain't cheap. Uh, yep. And does it work? Yeah, Total Recall. Does it work? Yeah, it does. It does work. But I don't say just throw that at the wall unless money is something you have a lot of and time is something you don't have a lot of. Then sure, always lean the budget towards the areas that you have more of that in that budget. For me, I have lots of time. I don't have a lot of ability. Physically, I'm limited. I don't have a lot of money, but I have time. So I would take the more time invested route and save money and save physicality. Okay. So with physicality, spraying it would be easier, right? Okay. So that's a nice one that fits into my physicality budget, but it doesn't fit into my money budget. So everybody's got different budgets they have to work with. Some people have lots of money and no time. Some have lots of time and no money. Usually those two are opposite to each other. Unless you happen to be rich, then you have both. And that's the case, just, do whatever. But you got to figure out what your budget is and work the solution that fits in your budget. And not just money, but again, time, experience, skill level, all those things are budgets. You have to understand all of your budgets and find the solution that fits into all of your budgets. It's not going to be the same thing for everybody. You could deaden the whole car with that Spectrum stuff. Sure. I mean, it would probably cost you $1,000 to do it, which means you got a high money budget. And you could pay somebody else, a couple $100 to do it for you. And now you've just used the money budget. You're not even using any other budget at all. So it's all about what do you want to do? Are there spots where you could use that? Yes. I think that they make aerosol cans probably too. I don't know. That'd be interesting to find out though. But there's places where you can't really get into. Then you're kind of limited to what can fit in here, what can work inside this particular little tiny space. Spray in deadener would probably do the job there. You know, could you spray the roof, the floors, everything? Sure. It's just going to cost you more of a money budget. That's all. But yeah, Thermodynamics is an outright awesome plasma cutter. Never heard of it. Trucker Jerry. Yeah, you got it right with Total Recall, man. That's my buddy. He's out there in his big truck. He's somewhere in Arizona. Is he in Arizona? Let me think about that. I think he's in Arizona. He's over there. He was over there doing his 30-minute break at Area 52 at the little alien, I think, or at a truck stop there. He called me earlier. He's a crazy man. Nice for stopping in there, Trucker Jerry. I'm not so into brands anymore. Talking to the source for the 2 Korean 12Ks. Just pay attention to, like I said, when it comes to amplifiers, there's a bunch of stuff, a whole lot of stuff, and I am not qualified to discuss a lot of it, but a couple of things I can. And from a distance, like not being able to use it and test it, it's a lot harder to find out a lot of stuff. But one of the things I want to see is how many power inputs and ground inputs there are versus the amount of power I'm expecting to get out of that amplifier. So ideally, I want to see at least one power input and one ground input for every 4,000 watts. At least. If you're expecting to pull 12,000 watts out of there, I need to see 3 power inputs and 3 ground inputs, at least. If you don't see that, that is a sign that amp is not well engineered. Truth. It has to be able to pull that current in. And you can pull 400 amps over an alt gauge for a short distance. So I'll buy that. That's about the most I would want to pull over that, but you can. That's the limit. So if they're not designing in the ability to take in power cleanly over those conduits, those power conduits, then I wouldn't trust the amplifier, because it's going to build up heat in that power supply section and you are going to blow it up. That's my advice to you as far as looking at that. One of the things you can look for is at least one power and ground for every 4,000 watts. That's the minimum. You figure that out, and then you can use that to gauge whether or not what you're getting is something you need to be concerned about. Joe said, I have no money or time, but me and little man get it done. Yeah, so you have time. You say you have no time. You have time. You're not restrained. You have to work, and then you get off work and you have an hour every day, whatever. That's still time. And you don't have a specific deadline where you have to have everything done. So you do have time. It's broken into segments, but you have time. Money may be another thing, So Pastime Playlist says, what are your thoughts on passive radiators? I'm thinking about adding one to my single cab daily pickup. Passive radiators are great if you have a very limited amount of space, because you basically don't have to make room for a port inside the box. The passive radiator becomes a port. They're not great if you're trying to make a lot of SPL. They're not efficient in that way. For a daily though, if you just want more low end extension and more bass in a daily, absolutely. Good call. Just run a much bigger passive radiator than your subwoofer that you're putting in. So if you got a single 12, maybe try to get a 15-inch radiator or 2 12-inch radiators. You want more radiator than sub. There's actually a math for it, but just remember you want more radiator area than sub area. and you're golden. You could also do it with excursion too, but in a pickup truck, you're probably not going to have a lot of excursion room, so you want to use as much cone area as you can. 4 hots, 4 grounds on those 12 Ks. That's 300 or 3,000 watts per. That's perfect. I call that a reasonable design. Tiffany RCA knobs and the works. Sounds like a nice looking amp. Oh, guys, we have been plowing through comments. And anybody have any more questions? Y'all start dropping them while I'm firing up. Opinions on, okay. Two Corley said opinions on 510s versus 612s, 415s, or 418s. 418s. If you got the baffle room, 418s 100%. Not even a question. I'll immediately answer that question. 418s is going to destroy the rest of that lineup. And you'll be way happier with 418s. 418s allows you to run 1, 2, or 4 amps. I mean, you could technically run 8, but if you can't power 418s off 4 amps, there's some serious problems going on. So you can switch that thing up. You'll have to you run 4 dual 2s. Let me think about that. 4, 2, and 1. Yeah, 4 dual 2s. So you can run 4 dual 2s on 1 amp, which is what I'm running. And you could also switch that up and run 4 amplifiers on 1 on each sub. So you have 2 options in a 4 configuration. You can either run all 4 on 1 sub, or you can run 4 amps, 1 per sub. And or you could run dual 4s, and then you could run 2 amps, 1 on 2 subs, 1 on the other 2 subs, and get 1 ohm. So that's an option, depending on what you're trying to do. So pay attention to what you're ordering and what your future plans may be. Me personally, what I think you should do would be going with the dual 2s and running a single amp on them. And then whenever you decide you want more power, get 3 more amps. Because that's going to give you the ability to get as big as you want to go, or to get 4 amps, because I know you, and you're going to go bigger. Plan ahead. Think about what you're going to do in the future if you change things up, and plan that into your purchase to begin with. What are you throwing at me? Oh, he's throwing at me. He's talking about the Korean amps. Cool. The battery I was talking about, the 40 amp hour LiPo 4 rated at 50C. There you go. That's important. Learn your equipment. Know what your C rating is. I was told it uses Trunk Thunder lithium bus bars, and it's the same as the 2 Banger 5K version 3s. So that'd be a Banger 10. That'd be a 10K. Because the Banger 10K is the same as 2 5Ks. So it would be a 10K. If they're using the bus bars, they may have just broke the battery down literally and put it in a different case. Just saying, it's very possible that's what happened. Don't know. 40 amp hours at 50C. I never heard of anything being rated at 50C, man. 20C is about as high as I ever see. So depending on where you got that information, you might want to look into it. I mean, I could be wrong. Don't get me wrong. Whatever you do, don't take my word as the gospel. But 50C is kind of a ridiculous number that I would have to see to verify to really accept in my brain. That's like telling me your car can do 300 miles an hour. It's a pretty big claim. So, depending on where that information come from, that would be what I'm interested in. Um, that sounds a little bit sus. The maximum cubic feet you would run two 15-inch subs. I usually stick to around 3.5 cubes per 15. I like the way that works, but every driver is going to have a variable. Every manufacturer, every specific subwoofer is going to have a specific amount of cubic feet that it likes, and it's not across the board. If you don't know, if you have zero idea, like you just got this sub and you don't know where it come from, I'd go to somewhere around 3 to 3.5 cubic feet per sub. That's usually a good spot to go to. However, if the information is available, I would absolutely work from that information sheet rather than a generic call. Um, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but he says I have 4 Slaps 18 SmackDown version 1s paired to a Team Pie 8Ks. Same amp. Give me any thoughts on upgrades? 57. Are you paired to 2 8Ks or one? C pillar 4th. I need to know if that's 2 8Ks or one 8K. What's up, Digging Low? What problems have you run into on the build that was the head scratcher? Son, that's my daily thing is head scratchers. That's charging system, funny noises, weird shit that comes up like that. Hums and whistles and all that stuff. Those always make my head scratch because then I know I did everything right, but trying to figure out where something is happening anyway, those are head scratchers. Franco Quaid said, I'm using the Black Diamond series subs. I am not familiar with that specific subwoofer. Sure. It don't matter how much power your alternator puts out. You could run a 400 amp alternator to a. You could charge this phone with a 400 amp alternator, right here. It's not going to blow up. It don't matter how small the. You could charge the battery in this watch with a 400 amp alternator. It doesn't care as long as the voltage is appropriate. You're fine. It's not the amperage; it's the voltage. Um, I don't know what your alternator output voltage is. That's important. And I don't know what your DIY lithium batteries maximum charging voltage is. That's important. Those are the two things that are relevant. You need to have something that's higher than the resting voltage from the alternator. It needs to be higher than the resting voltage, but it needs to be lower than the maximum charge voltage. It needs to fall between those two. And then you can absolutely charge it as long as you're not going above the rated input voltage for the battery and you're not charging below the resting voltage, it'll work. The God of CEO. What the hell? I don't know what those faces are. What are those faces? I can't, there's nothing that tells me what those faces are. But that's a funky looking face, man. It looks like you've been getting a demo on my shit. At 5 on, I ran one 8K at 25 and clamped 9,200 watts, 46 hertz to 53. Okay. 2 8Ks. Okay. One 8K per 2 18s. Okay. At half an ohm. So what I'd be looking at for that, if you're wanting to get louder, I'd be looking at your electrical going to your amplifiers. You're probably limited by that. You've got enough power to get into that area to get a 55. Is that what you were shooting for? 57. you're on the limit of what I can tell you how to get to. Um, is you're running a. Let me go back and look here. You're running on a C pillar 418s. Don't did you say a fourth? Yeah, a fourth. Um, I don't know if your fourth is well planned or not, well designed, if it's designed appropriately for what you're trying to do. Your tuning frequencies, all those things are going to be variables. And you go to getting up into the high 50s, mid to high 50s, you start stepping into territory where you either have to pick one lane or the other. It gets more and more difficult to play a broad band of music and still make high pressure. I can hit a 57, but I'm running a B pillar, not a C pillar, which means I have less cabin to pressurize. Um, so, and I'm running two 8Ks. We're running a very similar setup. I'm running the Oblivions instead of the Smackdowns. Yeah, you may need more power. Either maybe your amps aren't keeping up, or your electrical isn't keeping up with your amps. I think the power is what's getting you. It could also be a lot of other stuff too, like how well your wall is sealed up and what panels are flexing in your vehicle and all this kind of stuff. But that would be the stuff I would automatically jump to. On Nevada, he says. Sorry about that. Yeah, I know I'm a dumbass. Trucker Jerry, DIY audio guy. I am not DIY audio guy. He's way better at math than I am. Way better at math. He also has better woodworking skills. Two 8Ks, one 8K. Yeah, you missed my comment above. No, I saw it. I saw the sickly faces. Hold on. Did I miss something else? If it was way back. If I missed something else, I just went through. Uh, it must have been way back. Two 8Ks. Yeah. The importance of fuses. Fuseless. I wish you fire. Yeah, if you don't like your vehicle or whatever, just don't run fuses. You don't have to worry about them. All right, but let's dive in a little bit. That's relevant. We'll dive into that. So anywhere you have a battery, okay, this is real easy to figure this out. Anywhere there's a battery, the power wire that's coming off that battery needs to have a fuse very, very quickly. If you could fuse it literally at the battery, that would be best. And there's stuff people are fusing it between maybe 16 to 18 inches. No, 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 no. That's irrelevant. That's just some bullshit number that somebody decided was important. What's important is that any wire running between the battery and that first fuse is unfused. Anything that's running between there is not protected. So the closer you can get that fuse to the battery, the better. Any wire that's not fused, that's running between that battery and that fuse, it needs to be secure. It needs to be locked down and secure so that it can't touch anything metal, even if it comes apart. Um, that's the rule for that. If you've got a battery in the front and a battery in the back, you need to have a fuse at that front battery and a fuse at the back battery. Any power wire leaving any battery needs to have a fuse. And then if it goes from here to here and there's another battery, that one needs a fuse too. You don't want any of those wires that runs from any distances connected to a battery to not have a fuse. That's how you fuse. And you fuse for the wire. So if you've got a wire that can handle 400 amps, you fuse 400 amps. I don't care if you're only pulling 20 amps out of your amplifier. It doesn't matter. You fuse for the wire. If you need more power to flow than 400 amps, you need more wires. You're fusing the wire, not the amplifier, but the wire. How much power can that wire safely conduct before it starts to have problems? Then you put a fuse on that wire. It doesn't matter what the amplifier is. A lot of guys will tell you you have to fuse at the amplifier too. For the amplifier. You can do that. I don't know if it makes any difference or not. The amplifier and me, if the thing is getting enough power to blow a fuse at the amplifier, odds are the amplifier is already blown. But I'll speak on that. You fuse at the battery for the amount of power the wire can handle, and then if you want to follow that science, you fuse at the amplifier for the amount of power the amplifier is going to theoretically pull. So just take the wattage and divide it and knock one number off of it. So if you're pulling 1,000 watts, it's 100 amps. Okay, fuse it at 100 amps there, and then that protects your equipment. I do not do this, but a lot of people swear by it, so I will mention it. I fuse at the battery. T. Corley, Jerry said, there. Yeah, my brain's not working, so y'all forgive me. I missed the Explorer peaking at 46 hertz. Now my 04 extended cab peaks at 40 hertz, or did before some other things. Okay. And yeah, changing your port, changing your seats, changing your carpet, changing your headliner, all kinds of stuff can change your frequency. Mine went from like 44 to 36 because I put the pole in. When I put my stripper pole in, my frequency went from 44 to 36. And what happened was, before the roof was vibrating, it was acting like a big passive radiator, and all of a sudden it wasn't vibrating. So I lost that sympathetic vibration, but I gained more pressure. And so my whole tuning changed. And Ewitz, but that name said, I have a bank of skib, I think 36 amp hours, going to buy one more. Fourth is 2-to-1. I'm trying to get my fourth math in my head. 1-to-1 is 2-to-1 is pretty high SPL. That's pretty much SPL port wise, or chamber wise. So on a fourth, a 1-to-1 is going to be extremely musical, but not going to be very loud. But the funny thing is, you can go to a simply 1.2-to-1, and now you're getting a whole lot louder. It doesn't take much to make that change. At a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1, you're building sound pressure, and your band is pretty narrow. 2-to-1, you're still got a little bit of a band, but it's really starting to clamp down. At 3-to-1, you're basically shooting a shotgun. At 4-to-1 and higher, it's a rifle, meaning that you've got one little tiny frequency range you can play at, and it's going to hit like a truck at that frequency, but it's not going to play anything else. So you're already leaning towards the SPL side of the fourth order. And I am not a fourth order guru, but I can tell you that. Yeah, there's a whole lot to learn, a whole lot of more research. You need to go to the fourth order forums on Facebook and bug the crap out of those guys, because they're all kind of nuts, and some of them can give you some good advice on fourths. Corley, same box, different power and different vehicle. I missed my Explorer. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's totally different. Yeah, absolutely. I need to send my OG amp to get it fixed. I might could do it procrastinating, lazy. Oh, that's the story of my life. Shifty Lincoln said, I am getting back into car audio. I wanted to run a music system, not competition. Okay, that's basically what I'm doing. For a 5,000 watt system is a 400 amp alternator and extra excess power AGM, and the trunk's efficient. 5,000 watts is 500 amps. Just figure that. That's full tilt boogie. Now, if you're actually running it with music, it's probably about half that, so around 250 amps. We'll say 300 on the high end. And you got a 400 amp alternator. Here's the question. Where does that amp make 400 amps at? Is that at 2,000 RPM? Are you going to be listening to it at 2,000 RPM? If not, then it won't be enough power. If you are, then it will be enough power. That's why I said look for alternators that make 200, 250 amps at idle. That's what you're looking for. That's the magic, because that's where you're at most of the time. If you're sitting around listening to music, you're sitting still. If you're driving, it's going to make more power. But if you're sitting still, and that 2,000 RPM, where are you doing 2,000 RPM on the interstate? So are you going down the interstate at full tilt boogie, or are you cruising through town, stopping at red lights and sitting still? That's why idle is more important. So I would say yes and no. It's enough as long as you're going down the interstate. If you're not going down the interstate, you need more battery, and not that type of battery, but more battery that's appropriate. Your battery isn't helping really at all. I mean, it can only take in 50 amps at best. So it's not going to, it'll put out, like when you first crank your system up, crank your car up, right? And it's freshly charged and you're driving down the road and you crank your system on, crank it up. It's going to be loud, and then it'll just go kind of fizzle out. That's because you've used up the battery power, but you can't put it back in. So now you're just running off what's coming out of the alternator minus the power it's trying to put into the battery. So yeah, not really. You need a good lithium bank somewhere to handle your power needs more appropriately. That's what I would suggest. Um, so no, I wouldn't put a excess power AGM in the trunk. I would put a Trunk Thunder Lithium 5K in the trunk. That's what I would put in there. Um, you could also run two of the Big Jeff lithium batteries in the trunk. You need the throughput. That AGM isn't going to give it to you. In order for you to use AGM and do it, you're going to need to use like 5-ish AGM batteries to support that. Maybe 6. 6. 5 would I'd say 5 to 6 AGM batteries would do it. It's kind of sad, man. Uh, but yeah, I would. Hang on a second. Let me. Where are my? Where are my brain? Where are my brain? So right now, things are a little difficult to get because stuff. But as soon as they come back in stock, let me get that switched over. There we go. As soon as they come back in stock, so that's the Banger 10K. That's the 10K version 3. That's a nasty, nasty battery. But go over to the Banger series, and this little guy right here is what you want for your 4K. So right now I'm talking to this fellow. 5,000 watts. That would handle that no problem. This little guy right here, when it comes back in stock. If you can't get this guy, or you want it before it comes back in stock, head over to Big Jeff and use my discount code, save money. We always like saving money. Use my discount code CAE at Big Jeff and pick up the Big Jeff lithium battery, and then you're probably going to need 2 of them. Their claim to support 6,000 watts. I don't believe that. I know that they can safely, solidly support 3,000 watts. I would suggest getting 2 of them, and you'll be happy with that. You're going to pay more than you are for this little the 5K though, which is actually about the same. Actually, this 5K and 2 of those are exactly the same internally, with minus the bus bars. There's better bus bars, but they'll work. This is ideal right here. If you can wait, this is what you want to do. Whenever these things come back into stock, use discount code CAE10 and save money on that. But this is what you want for your lithium needs. This is what's going to actually give you the power that you're looking for and the support that you're looking for. And I appreciate you. You got a subscriber in me. Dude, I do the best I can to understand what I can and to be able to communicate that to other people. That's what I excel at, is communication. as far as I can tell. Uh, yeah, I like me some slaps, man. I've been very, very, very impressed with them. Just made a new playlist. Oh, there's a bunch of them in here, dude. You know what's sad is whenever I go to do research to learn more things about car audio, I wind up finding my videos. I find stuff that's my videos. I ask AI, hey, what's this, and they'll give me an answer, and I'll say, where did you get the answer? What is that source? Oh, it's from Car Audio Enthusiast. I'm like, really? I am the source. I'm training AIs as we speak. So yeah, I've hit a point to where it's hard for me to learn anything new because so much of the crap out there that I could learn from is my own stuff. So um, it's a trip. It's flattering and frustrating at the same time. Uh, yes, I've seen it. The thing looks ridiculous, but it's loud as shit. Um, I've seen it though. Yes, that's loud. Welcome back, Slim. 26 to 46 hertz, 560 square inches of port. Uh, you're going to be doing math here. That's your fourth order. Now I'm remembering what I'm talking about. Uh, yeah, it's a good range. It's a good range. Not bad. Tuned at 34. That's what I feel it does best. Yeah, that's probably a reasonable tuning too. Um, it varies from thing to thing, but yeah, this year I'm turning up system. What's up? Holy crap! A taco, tacos.
Hey, guess what? Taco loves tacos, yeah, that's his scene. Crunching all day like a taco machine. Hard shell, soft shell, spicy, supreme. Always eating tacos, favorite cuisine. Taco, 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 taco. Crunchy, crunchy. With taco machine. Touch.
I don't know, but I bet you there's people out there that are watching this on TV that just grabbed the remote and threw it at the wall. I love it. Thanks for five tacos, brother. Um, last time I was in car audio, I had a PPI 2300 AM. PPI Precision Power. Was that the art series? Um, I'm not sure what's going on with that. 2300 AM. 2300 AM. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I'm confused on that part, but I do know the Peak Precision Power amplifiers. I had some of the art stuff, the art series amps. They're really cool. I was a bigger fan of the US amps. I was a US amps guy all the way back in the day. That was my jam. I had one of the surfboards, 4 foot, 44-inch long amps. I don't remember which one it was though. It's been a long time ago. Yep, Big Jeff. I wonder if Big Jeff batteries are back in stock. Let me go look and see real quick. Could be wrong. Uh, there we go. Well, that's on eBay. So there are some available on eBay. Let me see if there's any in the shop. Because I'm a big fan of buying directly uh, for warranty reasons. I bet you there are. Yeah, they're back in stock. All right, so let me pull this up real quick here. Hang tight just a second. So if you head over to Big Jeff, what you're looking at is these. He's got a couple of different deals here. So you can get two. You get one for $349. You can get two for $679. Um, and these are excellent batteries, guys. If you need something for 3,000, 2,000, 3,000 watts, this little guy right here will absolutely do it and give you all kinds of performance for a reasonable price. $349. Nice, safe, well built battery. And of course, you can get a deal on buying two of them and save a little bit of extra money. If you buy two of them, you can support. It says 6,000 watts each, but realistically, in my opinion, maybe 7 or 8,000 watts off of two of them. That'd be what I'd push it to, but I would say around 6,000. Two of these is going to give you rock solid support for 6,000 watts. So if you're looking for lithium, this is one way of doing it. If you go over here to Big Jeff, use discount code CAE to save money at the cart. It's very easy to use. Excellent choice for batteries. Any idea how long Truck Thunder Banger Series back in stock? He's talking about it. If you go over to the YouTube channel that you're currently watching, you go to the community area, you can see where I posted Brandon's post for you guys to be able to read. He talks about details on dates and things. I could throw out some numbers, but I'd probably be wrong. So that's why I put it there. Hang on a second here. Let me just do this. Let me find this. You guys chill. Stop getting excited. Don't get excited. Calm yourself. Calm. Enhance your calm, John Spartan. Where is this at? The community section. I always have trouble finding this. I think it's here. Okay, here we go. Read more. All right, guys. Here we go. Hang on. Let me switch back to this. So here's the post. From Brandon at Trunk Thunder Lithium. More labels are being printed today. Pretty much all labels. As it stands, I'm behind, and this has caused stress and anxiety I did not want to deal with. This is my fault completely for doing back orders. There are serious lessons to be learned in all of this. Trying to build 50 banger series in a timeline that I thought was manageable turned into a shit show. Last week, I had to drill out bus bars yet again. A supplier sent me to be able to salvage what I ordered. In other words, they sent him the wrong thing. He had to actually machine them to make them work. 2 days down the drain dealing with supplier bullcrap. As it stands, I'm a week behind. I'm sorry, guys. I really am. I have no issue giving refunds. Never will have an issue with that. If anyone is asking my customers to give me, if anyone is asking all my customers, if anything, I'm asking all my customers to give me one more week to get all this handled. I absolutely will have no customer waiting like this moving forward. No more back orders. I appreciate the business and support tremendously, but it eats me alive and messes with my sleep knowing that I owe all these batteries out and I'm on a timeline. People are tired of waiting. I don't blame anyone for getting impatient at this point, but all I'm asking is for understanding at this point. Again, I take full responsibility for how I got into this scenario to begin with. Absolutely 0 orders will be dragged over to the next shipment. If you ordered, whether it's by late October, November, or in December, all orders will be handled by next week and out the door. No excuses. No nothing. It will be done and over, and I can get back to normal business. Next shipment will land on January the 30th, and I won't offer stock until all of those are built and at least half of the order is built. I'm ahead and not dragging people onto a wait time. I'm so sorry for those who may have to wait until the end to place an order, but my mental health and sanity, I cannot let myself get eaten alive with this many orders backed up. I really hope everyone understands. Again, never trying to make excuses. I take full accountability for how I let myself get into this situation. Again, I'm sincerely sorry for anyone involved, anyone inconvenienced, not trying to make excuses. in any way. I'm one man. I always try to build with safety and quality, never speed running the build process. If you didn't get cracking in your email, message me and I'll shoot it over. Um, so what he's basically saying is that he'll have them all out within a week. That's already ordered, and January the 30th, they'll go back to where you'll be able to order batteries, or approximately then. He's not going to let orders be placed until he has half of the stock he's got built and ready to go. And he's trying to prevent this from happening before. What happened was he was getting overwhelmed with orders, and he ran out of stock, and he was taking orders on stock he didn't have yet, and that's where the chaos started happening. He turned he lost his mind. So there's the answer to the question on Trunk Thunder Lithium. Um, and if you guys do want to order Trunk Thunder Lithium, this is the guy you're ordering from. He takes accountability for what he does. He takes it very seriously, and he's a wonderful person to deal with. He builds quality products. Use discount code CAE10, and you save money off your order. And he'll appreciate it. I appreciate it. Everybody appreciates it. Let's see here. Looking up halts. The six stock. Yeah, there's a lot of halts, man. It's like the numbers are crazy. I could start trying to go through them, but God, man, it's just so many. I want a lithium battery under my hood, 2003. No, you do not want a lithium battery under your hood. You do not want a lithium battery under your hood. You want a lithium battery inside the cab. They sell one that can go under the hood, supposedly. I do not put lithium under the hood. I do not suggest anybody put lithium underneath their hood in their engine bay. It doesn't belong there. Can't figure out what would fit. Yeah, well, there you go. I answered the question for you. Not the way you expected me to answer it, but that's the thing. Don't put lithium in your engine bay. Um, Off subject. I built Mr. 412's box in 2004 for my Explorer. Had it put in my second 2004 Chevy Extended cab daily driver. Had to reinforce some same subs. Sweet. Yeah, flexing is cool on camera, but it's a horrible thing in the reality of it all. Um, what? More tacos?
Hey, guess what? Taco loves tacos, yeah, that's his scene. Crunching all day like a taco machine. Hard shell, soft shell, spicy, supreme. Always eating tacos, favorite cuisine. Taco, 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 taco. Crunchy, crunchy. With taco machine.
That still makes me laugh, man. Thank you. Thanks for the two tacos, brother. Uh, loves win too. Stellar said, your videos pop up quite a bit for any of my questions. Yeah, like I said, it happens to me. I know it is what it is. I'm on a budget. I'm a budget-ish guy. I'm assuming that's money, of course. And I definitely think slaps will be my next amps for sure. Yeah, I mean, look, I can't tell you if anything else out there can beat a slaps amp. Okay, I can't tell you that because I don't know. There's so many different possibilities. There's clones out there. I mean, slaps is the clones of other amps. But what I can tell you is what I've done to these amplifiers and what they have given me back. So looking at the 8K for 369, this is a real 8,000 watt amplifier for $369.99. If you use my discount code, you save money even on top of that, discount code CAE. I have beat these things like they owed me money so many times, so long, so hard. I've demanded way more of them than they ever promised to give me. And they have been 100% faithful and solid and reliable. They've done their job 100%. And you see the power rating right here? Well, it doesn't show you the 3 ohm rating. It says they make, what is this? Hold on. It says they make 4,600 watts at 2 ohms and 2,600 watts at 4 ohms. I can tell you for sure that they make over 5,000 watts at 3 ohms. So I can tell you that because I've seen that on my meter whenever I was playing them. So to me, that answers all the questions. They are a solid amplifier, and they are priced right. And the little bass knob that comes with them works fantastically well. I can't use it because I'm running 2 of them. I have to run a separate bass knob, and I hate that because these little knobs were super clean and super crisp, and they worked really well. I really wish I could run those, but I can't. Uh, Excellent package, guys. I mean, where are you going to find a good 8,000 watt amp for less than $370? Um, something that can take abuse and beatings. And then they got the SDC series. There's several of those. I haven't used any of these yet, but I do know that they make far more than their rated power. So just a heads up on that. According to Alan, this 5K will absolutely capable of making right at 8,000 watts. So its potential is there too. One of my favorite amps of all time is this guy, the Little Slaps Mini 160.4 micro amp. That's what's behind me on the wall right back here, and that's what plays all my music in my office. You can literally see it over my shoulder. Um, for $109, a 4-channel, 160 watts by 4 clean amp sounds amazingly good. Tiny little sucker, very small footprint. It's a great amplifier. Again, I have beat the brakes off of all of my Slaps gear. I have yet to have one single piece of my Slaps gear fail, and I abuse the shit out of my gear. I beat it hard. It's not getting an easy life. It's having mortal hell keeping up with me. So I cannot recommend them enough. 2300M. Okay. I caught up to you. Stellar said, seems like he always has them in stock. Oh, you're talking about Big Jeff? Yeah. Well, they were out of stock for several weeks. So you might want to order them now while they're in stock if you're looking for batteries, or hold out and pick up some from Thunder Lithium after the end of the month whenever he puts those back up. It's not too far. It's only a couple weeks away. Corley said, I'd love to see some of the new US amps now. There are they got some wicked shit, but buddy, let me tell you, the price. They are expensive. They are ridiculously expensive. So yeah, just be warned. They are sick, but they are expensive as hell. Yeah. Same. I feel the same way. Can the lithium be? It's a better buy, and I think that it's a better constructed battery. But I can't complain about what I've seen from Big Jeff's batteries. They've been doing the job, and the people who have gotten them have all been very pleased with them. So I'm not going to say anything bad about them. But I can't see what's inside. That's the thing. I can't see what's inside. I don't know. I can't speak on what's inside. I know they work, but I can't speak on the construction. Can lithium be ran in conjunction with factory AGM batteries under the hood? It can be run in conjunction with your factory AGM batteries, but not under the hood. I just wanted to clarify that, make sure that I'm sure that's not what you were saying, but the only thing is if you're daily driving it, yes. But if you're going to let it sit for any length of time, you want to put an isolator on it. Um, and do I have that handy? No, I do not have that handy. But I go to battery hookup and pick up a 500 amp relay there, and I use that to isolate um, my AGM battery under my hood away from my lithium. So when I turn, I've got the AGM battery under the hood. I have it on the isolator. So when you turn the engine off, it disconnects from the rest of the system. The rest of the system is floating on the lithium. That battery only comes into play whenever I had the key on, and that's how I have it set. Um, I could totally delete that battery and run off of just the lithium, and that's a big deal too. You can do that, but in my situation, the way my life works, my vehicle might sit out there for a month without being moved, and I like the option of having two separate batteries. So if by somehow the AGM ran down, as soon as it turned the key on, it comes back into charging. It's going to pull back up and it's going to start the vehicle. If my lithium, if that was what I was working with, if it ran down for some reason over the course of a month, the AGM, when as soon as it comes in the circuit, it's going to start the vehicle. So the vehicle's going to start. You have to run both of them down, and since they're not connected when the vehicle's off at all, it's pretty much impossible to run them both down at the same time. That's just the way my life is because my vehicle sits for a very long time, a lot of times between starts. So I need that configured the way I have it done. Uh, Update. Wait for him. That it's a good company, man. Brandon's good people, and they do their thing. So I can't complain about them. Yeah, you could do a delete. I could have done a delete. I could do a delete. I technically did do a delete. Uh, the only thing is that my AGM sneaks back in when I turn the key on. Uh, Absolutely. You got that shit right. You dropped the tacos. Tacos, man. And my kitten's name is Taco. So, yes, I do have Taco Cat. And Taco Cat is spelled the same way, forward and backwards. Flexing always looked goofy to me. It's the equivalent of those cars that backfire. Yeah, yeah, it kind of is. Yeah, I get it. But, when it comes to conveying something on YouTube, visual is important. Um, and that's why a lot of people do it. They aim it because you can't really hear how loud something is, but you can see the roof jumping up and down. So it's kind of interesting to watch. Same basic concept. Uh, Tacos for people in the car or headphones. Oh yeah, man. Oh, and y'all ain't said nothing about my new headphones. I got the Mackie 250s, and they sounded like hot shit when I first got them. So I had to find a program to download a program, and I had been fixing this with my DSP, and I'm running this guy up here. That's the B2 Audio 610 DSP. That's what I'm using for my studio. I had been fixing the computer's lack of information in its audio channel with the DSP. But when I plugged in the headphones, they weren't getting that DSP, so it sounded like hot shit. I had to download a program that went into my computer and allowed me to set the EQ curve for everything that comes out of the computer. No matter where it's going, it gets the same EQ curve. And that allowed me to go back and flatten the EQ tune on my DSP and EQ it going into the DSP, but also into my headphones so that my headphones sounded appropriate. So I was listening to Def Leppard for like 4 hours as I was tuning because I was having to tune it by ear. And I'm familiar with the Def Leppard tracks. And so that's what I was listening to over and over again. Two Steps Behind was one of my favorites that I was running over and over again. And I was listening to that, getting everything just right using this weird EQ system. Now I have it sounding good, so I'm very happy. But these things do sound good. They fit good. They're comfortable. Uh, the Mackie MC250s, I believe what they are. Um, they showed up as they're supposed to be a recording level, like a really flat response curve, and that's what they sound like now. Now that I've tuned the computer to a better curve, they do a good job at giving me a flat response. Yes, yeah. If you have the JS320, the Slaps 8K, the Banger 10K version 3 absolutely will be all you need. It will handle it no problem. I was able to run two of the 8Ks off of one Banger 10K version 2, but it was struggling with that. It still ran it and it still held voltage pretty good, but it was you could tell I was right at the edge of what it was capable of. And I have 670 amps of alternator at that point. But on one, uh, I was running a 370, which you said you got a 320, a 370, a single 370, and I was running a Trunk Thunder Lithium version 2 10K and a single Slaps 8K, and that worked fine. So, yes, it will work fine. I know this not just from numbers, but I've actually run the damn setup that you're talking about. So, yeah. What is this? Oh, we got more tacos in the house. Taco.
Hey, guess what? Taco loves tacos, yeah, that's his scene. Crunching all day like a taco machine. Hard shell, soft shell, spicy, supreme. Always eating tacos, favorite cuisine. Taco! 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 Crunchy! Crunchy! With Taco Machine!
Every time. It makes me laugh every single time. Uh, Thank you, Shifty, for the subscription, man. You're very much welcome. Thanks for the fiber. Tacos. You guys are so funny. Uh, the god of SEO said, I run Glow Voltage Series 3 and my 4,000 watts in the Navigator. Huge thumbs up. Hell yeah, man. As long as you find the right stuff and do it the right way, you can do a lot, with a little. But one of the things I'll tell you is if you want to reduce your money budget, if you want to reduce the amount of money you spend, if you want to reduce the amount of time you spend, if you want to reduce the amount of work you put into it, but still get the same thing, expand your knowledge budget. The more knowledge you have, the less of the other things you have to use to get to the same destination. Learning is the important thing, and not storing information, right? Like storing files. This is this a number, and this number is that number, and all this. That's not what I'm talking about. Don't store information. You're not a filing cabinet. What I'm telling you is to learn how to learn how to understand. The information is available, but learn how to use that information to make good, educated decisions. That's going to reduce the amount of time, the amount of money, and the amount of effort you have to put into everything. The smarter you are, the easier and the cheaper everything gets. Absolutely. Learn something new every day. Taco cat spelled forwards and backwards. Yeah. Taco cat. That's my little buddy. He's a psychopath, though, let me tell you. Uh, Franco Quaid says, you learn something new every day. Glow batteries are all out of stock, too. Yeah, that's how that works, man. You know, I'm a Trump fan, but understand that tariffs cause a shit show when it comes to importing anything. They are causing all sorts of mayhem on the docks. Literally. Stu. What's up, Stu? We're running from 7. We start at 7 now, Stu. You're about 2 hours late, man. We're starting at approximately 7 when I can. Windy demos, more tacos, and less vino. Oh, man. This is My little cat, my little kitten thing. I love it, dude. My little mariachi band. It's funny. I hate mariachi music. That's why I find it so funny. Uh, Everybody appreciates a big taco. Um, Got a CEO. Is that all ran on stock alt and main battery? I'm not sure what. Okay, he's making a reference to another statement. I'm just going through here. One should be careful with street tacos. One should always be mindful of street tacos. Absolutely. Dear last on the hood. Yeah. Okay. Catching up. My bad. Wife wanted to hang out when I got home from work. Hey, man. Wifey has way, way, way a higher importance level than I do. So whatever you do, absolutely hang out with wifey. Wifey's way more important than me. You could always watch the show retro, right? You could always watch it afterwards and see what happens in this crazy place. And I have no issues with any of that. But guys, I do have company over tonight, so we're not going to be doing a 5-hour show tonight. We are going to call it good. And before I leave, though, I want to play the intro one more time for those who may have missed it. This is my Tahoe in multiple different levels of build, but I'm going to play this one more time just for those of you that missed it on the start of the live show.
Sun goes down, fades away. Lifeless fingers, red decay. Darkness comes, slow moving mist hides the land inside its fist. The riders come, sworn to obey, to chase the colors from the day. They ride on through with a thunderous sound, shakes the mountains and cracks the ground. Power, can you feel that power? As night rolls in with the witching hour. Power, can you feel that power across the land? Can you feel that power? Cold steel hearts, eyes like flame, etched in dust, forgotten names, echoed vows through shattered time, bound by blood and ancient signs. Engines howl like beasts unchained, blackened skies ignite the rain. Every step, the shadows cower when the ground bows to rise in power. Power, can
That was just a quick compilation of a bunch of different demos. Uh, and I don't know which one was my favorite, but there's a whole lot of them in there that I really enjoy all my demos, man. I like getting the smiles out of people, the shocked look on their faces, and just the whole energy of it, man, makes it all worthwhile. The track I am not done with. That's a pretty good track. It's getting close. I put it together tonight specifically for the show. That rendition of the track is going to change, but a little bit, but it's going to get more intense. Stu said he digs it. Yeah, it's a good track, right? I wrote all of that. I wrote that last night. Um, that's a good question. Let's see here. A lot of joy, Bass Phyllis said. You ain't lying with that, man. Kids love it. Girls love it. Guys love it. Old people love it. It's and people that don't even know what the hell they're about to experience always smile. It's always a grin, man. It's like it's a whole different experience. It's like getting on a roller coaster. So, what's the best state to live in to compete and for community? And I'm going to tell you, honest to God, and this is the truth. I really think Springfield, Missouri is an excellent location. For one, I'm going to explain why. I have reasons. It's not just where I live, it's Springfield, Missouri, but I'm going to tell you why I think it's the king. Number one, it's located almost dead center of the United States. Anything that you want to go to that's not in this area is as short as it's going to be from anywhere in the world right here. Number two, Midwest SPL, Base Wars, all these guys, like for example, Midwest SPL is going to be in Lebanon this year, which is just right down the road, just a few miles down the road. We have in Springfield, we have like 15 to 20 car audio shows every summer. And that's in town. That's not counting the stuff around town. If you're willing to drive 30 or 40 miles around Springfield, you could go to 100 shows in the summer. Easy. Not to mention the fact that Springfield has the biggest hot rod community. Old school hot rods, low riders, slammed, air and hydraulics and all that stuff. We have a massive community for that stuff in town, and they have shows all year long as well as the other stuff. Wake the Dead's in Arkansas. It's just south of here. I mean, everything is close to this area. Springfield, Missouri is just where it's at and right now in cars and car audio. It really is. In the United States. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a better community for all that. So that's my personal opinion. People in St. Louis, yeah. Bass Phyllis said Greenland. I don't know about Greenland. I ain't never been there. I know it's white. Iceland's green and Greenland's white. That always made me laugh. Yeah, it's like you drive on a parkway, but you park in a driveway. Figure, right? Dead center of the U.S. All right, guys. It has been a good night. And now it's another time, to get the duck out of here. Peace, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Out here banging up and down the street, slamming it to the ground. Big subwoofers are getting loud. You can feel the booming sound. Getting ready to go. Got it shined up for the show. Power's charging, amps are amping, gonna let the woofers blow. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. We got more at home. Another one bites the dust. Eyes are glowing and the amps smoking. Subs are cherry red. Let me keep jamming, gotta keep the bass slamming, gonna go hard till they're dead. Full power, gotta let it go. 20 hertz in the floating air.
sparks are flying, boys, scores are frying, and the smoke is in the air. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. Hey, we got more at home. Another one bites the dust.